Hello and welcome to the Tableau courses for chart selection. Here in this course I have already explained the Tableau overview and connecting to the data, so it's in the third course called chart selection. So what's the difference between chart and graph? Basically in chart you don't always necessarily have an origin, where in the graph you always have an origin. That's a very basic questions are being asked in various interviews and forums. So I will explain you when to use what chart types, specifically when to say no to a specific chart type, which is very essential to know for any data scientist or for any analyst specifically who are into this Tableau space. And there is something called Tableau marks and Tableau show me options. So I will explain you detail, but before that I will jump into what are the types of chart available with Tableau and other visual tool. I will briefly explain that. So this graph will actually show you what are the different types of chart. So basically charts are of two types. One is comparison, another is composition. So let me explain you a little bit of in brief. When you have a static period of time, let's say last financial year, you want to compare that what are the types of categories you have made sales, or what are the types of calls you have received in your call center, or what are the type of propositions you have handled in your opportunity space. That's basically the composition. And when you do compare between two parameters, either you compare over time or you compare among items. Now based on whether it's a 2 item or 3 item, you select various chart types. So in nutshell, if you use any comparison over time, it's always better to use a line chart or various line chart or sparkle chart. And if you want to compare between 2 or 3 items, then kind of bar chart would make more sense to you. And if you want to have a composition dispersion over time, then you can use stacked bar chart, where you have your total percentage is 100%, and then you differentiate among various compositions. Now pie chart is always a very sensitive thing to use. When you have very less number of categories, then only you should use pie chart, otherwise you should not. And distribution chart and relationship chart is basically used for various statistical purposes. Typically when you have a large number of items, let's say you have 100 salesmen reporting to you, and you want to compare their distribution of their performances, or for a department you want to analyze their salary, then you typically use this kind of histogram, or you use, this is called box and whisker plot. And relationship, when you want to understand that if you change one variable, how the other variable impacts. Let's say you increase the price of the product, whether that increase into the penetration of the market or not. So in such scenarios you use scatter plot with bubble size. So here the good thing is you can use actually many variables. In scatter plot, your both x and y axis you have variables, and the size of the bubble represents something and the color of the bubble represents something. So you actually can depict 4 variables into a scatter plot, which you could not show in any of the chart types. So scatter plot is very handy for various purposes. So I will explain you all these things details when I actually go to show you a live example. So let's take a data. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually importing one of the sample sales data I have with me, and I'm putting into Tableau. So it is just opening up. Yeah, it's already there. Now let's say if I want to show you the sales trend, okay. Now if I use, let's say I want to show you a sales trend. Now if I use a bar graph like this, it's sometimes it's very difficult to understand the trend or something. So instead if I use a line chart, so you can very easily understand the trend of the particular product. Okay, so it started with this, then it had got a spike, and then it gradually dies down. Okay, so the trend is pretty clear. But if I show you in bar graph, or let's say this one, it's little difficult to understand the trend. So for any any variables you want to plot against time, so always use line chart. It is always recommended. Okay, so lesson number 1. Then let's say you have various products. Okay, and you want to plot them in a pie chart. Okay, so let me fit it to. So I have various products like orange, mixed fruit, mango, jamun, rose lychee, pink guava. Now it's very difficult to understand that what is what. Let's say which one is making more sale, which one is making less sale. It is very difficult to understand because the size of the mango and jamun looks pretty same, although if you see they are they are quite different. So human eyes cannot distinguish angle pretty good, so that's the fact. Okay, so always please try to avoid from this kind of bar chart. Okay, and let's try some other version of chart. Let's say I want to use bubble chart. Okay, now this is also a way of representation, but it is also very difficult to understand that which bubble is. So here orange and jamun bubbles appear the same, so again the same thing. Okay, so although I have various types of option, but please be careful. Okay, I can use tree map. So here also I can show you various the size represents the sales. Okay, so now let's actually look into what is the most suitable thing. If I take product and pack size and take this and then do a sorting, now here one can clearly identify that mixed fruit is the top selling product among both the 200 ml and 1000 ml, so which is a very clearly identifiable. So as you can see, there are many fancy type of charts, but after that this bars comes pretty handy. Okay, and now I will show you something. If you just put levels, it is difficult to read. Okay, now instead of that, if you change it to percent of total, it's very easy to read. Okay, so you can clearly understand that mixed fruit in 200 ml segment, it is contributing only 7.9% of your entire sale, where in 1000 ml segment it contributes to 12.72%. so it is very important. And something you must have noticed that there is something called 14 marks written in the bottom corner. So this is called Tableau marks type. So whenever you create any chart in Tableau, you always look for this mark type. Okay, and your data you should have aggregated. There is an option called aggregate measure. If I uncheck that, then everything will be unaggregated. So always aggregate things so that it actually take less memory and it actually good for representations. Okay, and by now you have already seen the show me options, where I can select actually any chart type, and Tableau suggests various chart types based on the data that I have selected. Although it cannot predict what is the best suitable chart for your business case. It is only you have to understand the business data, and then you have to take a call that which chart type you will use. And often the selection of chart type decide the quality of the analysis and quality of your presentation. So understanding what chart type to use is very important for today's business. I hope I am able to clear you. Yeah, thanks. Any question, please get back to me.